Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. These are the powerful words of Carl Jung, a pioneer who dared to map the deepest territories of the human mind. How many times have you found yourself repeating the same mistakes, trapped in patterns of self-sabotage? How often have you reacted with an anger or sadness that felt too big for the situation, almost as if you weren't in control? The truth is, every human being carries a hidden part of themselves, a silent partner that influences their decisions, fears, and attractions. Jung called this part the shadow. While many know of Sigmund Freud, it was his brilliant student, Carl Jung, who founded Analytical Psychology and gave us this profound concept. He taught that ignoring this inner darkness doesn't make it go away. It only gives it more power. It runs your life from behind the scenes. If you want to truly master your mind, achieve genuine freedom, and unlock your fullest potential, you must turn around and face this shadow. This isn't about destroying your darkness. It's about understanding it, integrating it, and harnessing its incredible power. Today, we will dive deep into the heart of Jung's most transformative teaching. We will dissect what the shadow is, how it controls you, and most importantly, we will uncover the practical steps to integrate it and become whole. This isn't just a psychological theory, it's a strategy for life. But before we begin, I want you to make a commitment to your own journey of self-discovery. Comment below right now. I am ready to meet my whole self. This is your declaration that you choose awareness over ignorance, courage over comfort, and wholeness over a fractured existence. If you're ready, let's begin. Everyone carries a shadow, and the less it is embodied in the individual's conscious life, the blacker and denser it is. We live in a world that pressures us to be good, polite, strong, and successful. From a very young age, we learn that certain parts of us are unacceptable. Anger is bad. Fear is weak. Sadness is inconvenient. Wild creativity is impractical. So what do? We take these traits, these natural parts of our humanity, and we shove them into a dark cellar in our minds. That cellar is the shadow. The shadow is the repository for everything we have disowned about ourselves. It's not necessarily evil. It is simply what is unknown and rejected. Think of it like the dark side of the moon, always there, but never seen from our usual vantage point. When Jung wrote these words, he was revealing a fundamental truth. Your shadow gains power in the dark. The more you ignore it, the more it festers, growing denser and more volatile. This is why we sometimes have explosive outbursts of anger that seem to come from nowhere. It's the shadow, starved for attention, finally breaking down the door. It's why we feel like imposters, because consciously we present a perfect mask, but unconsciously we know this neglected part of us exists, making us feel inauthentic. So, how do you begin to see what you've hidden so well? Let's make this practical. Recognize your projections. Jung taught that we often see our own shadow in others. That person who irritates you beyond reason, the trait in them that you despise, it's very likely a disowned part of your own shadow. If you hate arrogance in others, perhaps you've repressed your own ambition and confidence to the point of self-deprecation. If you can't stand weakness, maybe you've denied your own vulnerability and need for help. Examine your slips. Pay attention to Freudian slips, jokes that have a sharp edge, or moments of unintentional sarcasm. The shadow often leaks out through unguarded moments. It speaks in symbols and humor. Reflect on your family and culture. What traits were unacceptable in your family? Were you told, nice girls don't get angry? Or boys don't cry? These cultural and family rules are the very tools that build the shadow. Identifying them is the first step to dismantling their power over you. The shadow isn't your enemy. It is a wounded part of you, a child locked in the cellar. The first step to mastery is not to condemn it, but to simply acknowledge that it's there. The light of your consciousness is the only thing that can begin to heal it. The shadow is a moral problem that challenges the whole ego personality, for no one can become conscious of the shadow without considerable moral effort. To become conscious of it involves recognizing the dark aspects of the personality as present and real. A part of the shadow, however, consists of hidden or undeveloped potentials. You might be thinking, why on earth would I want to connect with the anger, fear, and shame I've hidden away? This is where the true genius of Jung's work shines. He taught that the shadow doesn't just contain our flaws, it contains our greatest undeveloped strengths. There is gold hidden in the darkness. Imagine you were taught that being assertive was bossy. You repressed that part of yourself to be liked. Locked away with that bossiness is your courage, your leadership, your ability to set boundaries and pursue your goals without apology. That is your gold. Imagine you were taught that being sensitive was weak. Locked away in the shadow is your empathy, your intuition, your artistic ability, and your capacity for deep connection. That is your gold. Jung stated that this requires a considerable moral effort, because it means admitting you are not the perfect, one-dimensional person you pretend to be. It means accepting that you have the capacity for both great good and great darkness. But in that acceptance, you unlock immense power. The person who has integrated their aggressive shadow doesn't become a violent monster. They become a focused, driven, and assertive individual who isn't afraid to stand up for themselves. The person who has integrated their fear doesn't become reckless. They become courageous, acting in spite of fear, not in the absence of it. So how do you mine this gold? Reevaluate your judgments. Take those traits you despise in others, the ones from our first exercise. Instead of just seeing the negative, ask, what is the positive energy behind this trait? Arrogance is the shadow of confidence. Laziness can be the shadow of a deep need for rest and contemplation. Greed can be the shadow of a powerful ambition to build and create. Find the gold in the mud. Embrace healthy outlets. If you have repressed anger, don't pretend it doesn't exist. Channel it. Take up a competitive sport. Engage in passionate debate. Fight for a cause you believe in. Give the energy a job to do. Dare to be different. The shadow often contains the parts of you that don't fit into society's neat boxes. Your weirdness, your eccentricities, your unique passions. This is your personal gold. Allow yourself to explore these interests without judgment. This is the path to authenticity. Remember, the goal is not to let the shadow take over. The goal is to bring its energy into the light of consciousness, where you, the ego, can direct it purposefully. Your greatest power is not in your light alone, but in the union of your light and your integrated darkness. The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. Carl Jung. Why is it so terrifying to accept ourselves completely? Because it means letting go of the illusion of control and perfection. It means being accountable for every part of who we are. The person who refuses this journey, who leaves their shadow completely unattended, lives in a state of constant, low-grade inner conflict. This leads to what Jung might call an unlived life. An unlived life is when your shadow is running the show. It manifests in several key ways: chronic indecision and procrastination. When your conscious desires are at war with your unconscious fears, your shadow, you become paralyzed. You want to start the business, but your shadow, holding your fear of failure, subtly sabotages you by making you procrastinate. It whispers, "You're not good enough. You'll be exposed as a fraud." And because this voice operates from the darkness, you mistake its fear for rational caution. Addictive and compulsive behaviors. When the energy of the shadow is not given a healthy outlet, it erupts in destructive ways. Addictions to substances, work, drama, or shopping are often attempts to numb or distract from the rumblings of the unintegrated self. This isn't a moral failing, it's a spiritual crisis. The compulsion is a desperate attempt by the psyche to feel something intensely, to break through the numbness of a life lived only on the surface. A pervasive feeling of emptiness, perhaps the most tragic symptom of the unlived life, is a chronic, gnawing feeling of emptiness or meaninglessness. You can have all the external markers of success, a good job, a family, a nice house, but feel hollow inside. This is the soul's cry for wholeness. It's the feeling that comes from knowing, on a deep, unconscious level, that you are not living as your true self. You are performing a role, and the applause feels empty because the real you is not on stage. The unlived life is a tragedy because your greatest potential, your gold, remains buried. You live as a fraction of who you could be. The terror Jung speaks of is the moment you decide to stop. The moment you decide to turn on the lights in the cellar and see what's really there. This is the beginning of the end of the unlived life. A group experience takes place on a lower level of consciousness than the experience of an individual. Carl Jung. Up to now, we've talked about the shadow as a personal, individual experience. But Jung took this concept even further, to a place that explains much of the conflict and madness we see in the world today: the collective shadow. Just as individuals push unwanted traits into their personal shadow, so do families, communities, and even entire nations. The collective shadow is the darkness that a society as a whole refuses to acknowledge about itself. It's made up of the shared fears, historical atrocities, and uncomfortable truths that a group sweeps under the rug to maintain its idealized self-image. Think about it. We see this play out in history through witch hunts, genocides, and the systemic scapegoating of minority groups. In these moments, an entire society projects its collective shadow onto one group, branding them as the source of all evil. This allows the society to feel pure and righteous while committing monstrous acts. It's the personal shadow dynamic magnified to a terrifying societal scale. But how does this affect you directly? The collective shadow is the source of intense social pressure. It dictates what is acceptable to think, feel, and be within your culture. When you try to reclaim a part of your personal shadow, perhaps your fierce independence, your artistic sensitivity, or your spiritual questioning, you often come into direct conflict with the collective shadow. You are branded as weird, rebellious, or difficult because you are challenging the group's unwritten rules. Doing your own personal shadow work is therefore not just an act of self-improvement. It is a profoundly courageous and even political act. Every individual who integrates a piece of their own darkness withdraws psychic energy from the collective madness. They stop projecting onto others. They become an island of sanity in a sea of unconsciousness. Here's how to become aware of the collective shadow's influence. Question: national myths. Look at the stories your country tells about itself. What is left out? Which heroes are glorified? And which dark chapters of history are ignored or glossed over? The truth is often in the silences. Identify group scapegoats. Who does your social circle, your media, or your political group blame for everything? Be very wary of any narrative that presents a single group as the source of all problems. This is the hallmark of collective shadow projection. Embrace your inner heretic. recognize that the parts of you that feel most out of step with society might be the very parts that are most authentically you. These are the parts that have resisted being absorbed into the collective unconscious. Cherish them. By understanding the collective shadow, you realize that your inner work has outer consequences. To heal yourself is to contribute to the healing of the world. The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. Carl Jung nowhere does the shadow cause more confusion and pain than in our intimate relationships. To understand this, we need to introduce two more of Jung's brilliant concepts, the anima and the animus. In very simple terms, the anima is the unconscious feminine archetype within a man, and the animus is the unconscious masculine archetype within a woman. It is the soul image, the inner counterpart to our external gender identity. When we fall intensely in love, often what is happening is not that we see the other person clearly, but that we are projecting our own anima or animus onto them. They become a screen for our own inner soul image. This is magical and intoxicating, but it is also fraught with danger if the anima or animus is undeveloped and living in the shadow. Let's look at the shadow, anima, in a man. If a man has repressed his own feminine qualities, his intuition, his capacity for relatedness, his creativity, his anima becomes negative and resides in his shadow. She can manifest as moodiness, cattiness, and a tendency to be drawn to manipulative or emotionally volatile partners who act out his repressed inner drama. He will project this negative anima onto the women in his life, accusing them of being irrational or overly emotional, when he is actually at war with his own inner feminine. Now, the shadow animus in a woman. If a woman has repressed her masculine qualities, her assertiveness, her logical thinking, her ability to stand on her own, her animus becomes negative. He can manifest as a rigid, dogmatic, argumentative inner voice that nitpicks and criticizes. She might be drawn to authoritarian, domineering partners, or conversely, to weak and passive partners, both of whom are projections of her underdeveloped inner masculine. She might find herself arguing for the sake of arguing, possessed by this shadow animus. The path to a healthy relationship is to withdraw the projection. This is incredibly difficult work. It means realizing that the god or goddess you fell in love with is a reflection of your own soul. It means taking responsibility for developing a conscious relationship with your own inner anima or animus. For a man, this means consciously developing his capacity for feeling, intuition, and creativity. For a woman, it means consciously developing her capacity for logic, assertive action, and independent thought. When you do this, you stop needing your partner to be your other half. You can finally see them as the whole, separate, complex human being they actually are. The relationship transforms from a codependent projection into a conscious partnership between two whole individuals. This is the transformation Jung spoke of, the true alchemy of love. Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes. Carl Jung. Theory is wonderful, but how do we actually do this work? How do we look inside and awaken? Jung gave us powerful tools. This is not about just thinking, it's about engaging. Let's expand our toolkit. Deep dream work. Dreams are the royal road to the unconscious. The shadow speaks to you every night. A Jungian approach to dreams is not about dream dictionaries. It's deeply personal. Step A. Record it. Keep a journal by your bed. Write down your dream immediately upon waking, with as much detail as possible before your conscious mind starts editing it. Step B. Identify symbols and feelings. What were the main images, characters, places? What was the overall feeling? Were you scared, joyful, anxious? Step C. Make personal associations. This is key. What does that symbol mean to you? If you dreamed of a snake, forget universal meanings. Did your childhood pet snake make you happy? Or were you bitten by a snake once? The meaning is yours alone. Step D. Ask the golden question. Jung said dreams are often compensatory. They balance our conscious attitude. So ask, what conscious attitude that I hold in my waking life does this dream balance or challenge? If you are a rigid perfectionist in waking life and you dream you are joyfully making a mess, the dream is showing you what your psyche needs. Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes. Carl Jung. Theory is wonderful, but how do we actually do this work? How do we look inside and awaken? Jung gave us powerful tools. This is not about just thinking. It's about engaging. Let's expand our toolkit. Deep dream work. Dreams are the royal road to the unconscious. The shadow speaks to you every night. A Jungian approach to dreams is not about dream dictionaries. It's deeply personal. Step A. Record it. Keep a journal by your bed. Write down your dream immediately upon waking, with as much detail as possible before your conscious mind starts editing it. Step B. Identify symbols and feelings. What were the main images, characters, places? What was the overall feeling? Were you scared, joyful, anxious? Step C. Make personal associations. This is key. What does that symbol mean to you? If you dreamed of a snake, forget universal meanings. Did your childhood pet snake make you happy? Or were you bitten by a snake once? The meaning is yours alone. Step D. Ask the golden question. Jung said dreams are often compensatory. They balance our conscious attitude. So ask, what conscious attitude that I hold in my waking life does this dream balance or challenge? If you are a rigid perfectionist in waking life and you dream you are joyfully making a mess, the dream is showing you what your psyche needs. Mastering active imagination. This is more than daydreaming. It is a conscious, focused dialogue with the figures of your unconscious. Step A. Find an entry point. Start with a dream image, a strong mood, or a fantasy. Close your eyes and allow that image or feeling to take on a life of its own. Step B. Let it unfold. Don't direct it. Your job is not to control the story. Your job is to be a participant. If a figure appears, don't tell it what to do. Ask it a question. Who are you? What do you want from me? Step C. Engage and record. Speak to the figure. Listen to its response. Write the entire dialogue down as if it were a script. This makes it concrete and honors the experience. This process is about building a bridge between your ego and the vast intelligence of your unconscious. It is the single most powerful tool for integration. Embrace somatic awareness. The shadow isn't just in the mind, it's held in the body. That chronic tension in your shoulders, the knot in your stomach, these are often physical manifestations of repressed emotions. Practice mindfulness by scanning your body and simply noticing these sensations without judgment. Breathe into them. Ask them, what message do you have for me? Often, simply bringing conscious, loving attention to these areas can begin to release the stored emotional energy. These are not quick fixes. They are practices. They are ways of life. They are the tools for looking inside and, as Jung said, finally awakening. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Carl Jung. In our modern world of positive vibes only, Jung's message is more radical and necessary than ever. True enlightenment, true mental mastery, isn't about ignoring the negative. It's not about chanting affirmations while your inner house is on fire. It is the messy, difficult, and courageous work of making the darkness conscious. Wholeness, or what Jung called individuation, is the ultimate goal. It's the process of becoming a fully integrated, individual, and indivisible self. It is the union of opposites within you, conscious and unconscious, masculine and feminine, anima, animus, light and shadow. A whole person is not a perfect person. A whole person is a real person. They are formidable because they are not at war with themselves. Their energy is not wasted on internal suppression and projection. Think of the profound peace and strength this gives you. When you have faced your inner capacity for anger, you are no longer terrified of conflict. When you have accepted your own vulnerability, the criticism of others loses its sting. When you have acknowledged your own shadow, you become far more compassionate and less judgmental of the shadows you see in others. You stop living in a black and white world of good versus evil and start living in the full, rich, complex spectrum of reality. This is the courage to be whole. It's a lifelong journey, not a destination. You never finish your shadow work. As you grow and change, your shadow changes with you. New challenges will reveal new layers. But you will have the tools, the courage, and the self-compassion to meet them. You will have a relationship with the deepest parts of yourself. So, as we come to a close, let's bring it all together. All along this journey, we've seen that the very things you run from hold the keys to your freedom. Your self-sabotage is a message. Your projections are a map. Your relationships are a mirror. Your dreams are a guide. Your deepest fears guard your greatest strengths. Carl Jung didn't offer an easy path. He offered a true one. He taught us that mastery of the mind isn't about silencing thoughts. It's about understanding their source. The victory you seek doesn't happen when you finally banish all your demons. It happens the moment you have the courage to invite them in for a conversation. It begins when you decide to change your inner world. If you have made it this far, something in this message has resonated with the deepest part of you. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Your step today was to listen, to learn, and to open your mind. Now, I want to invite you to take the next step. In the comments below, tell me, what is one piece of gold you suspect might be hiding in your shadow? It could be creativity, courage, assertiveness, or anything else. When you declare it, you begin the process of reclaiming it. If this video has illuminated a path for you, please share it with someone who might be fighting their own battles in the dark. A single insight can change everything. And if you want to continue this journey of discovering the depths of the human psyche and the principles of personal growth, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Here, we don't offer empty motivation. We offer tools for true transformation. Remember the words of Jung that started our journey. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Today, you chose to take the director's chair. You are no longer a victim of fate. You are the courageous architect of your own whole self. The work is not easy, but it is the only work that truly matters.